In this video, I'm about to walk you through 10 fast food chains that most people never suspect, but their menus are secretly raising your risk of stroke with every bite. Number 10. Wendy's might sell itself as the place for fresh, never frozen beef, but what it's really serving up is a cocktail of sodium, saturated fat, and processed add-ons that push stroke risk higher meal by meal. It doesn't take long to see how, because a single order can wipe out most of your daily sodium budget before noon. Take breakfast. The famous breakfast Baconator sounds like a power start to the day, but with roughly 700 milligrams of sodium and nearly 20 grams of saturated fat, it's already steering blood pressure and cholesterol in the wrong direction. Add seasoned potatoes and a drink, and you're basically eating a day's worth of vascular stress before work. I used to think of breakfast as lighter at fast food places. Clearly, that's not the case here. By lunchtime, even lighter picks carry the same trap. A cup of chili may look wholesome, but it hides close to a gram of sodium. Pair it with fries, and you're already over half the American Heart Association's daily limit. Toss in a fountain drink, sugary or diet, and research shows you're adding another layer of stroke risk, whether from metabolic damage, or the links studies have drawn between artificial sweeteners and small vessel strokes in older women. Dinner is where the wheels really come off. The Baconator alone runs around 26 grams of saturated fat. That's about a full day's limit if you're following AHA guidance. And let's not forget the bacon itself, a processed meat preserved with nitrites and phosphates, the very additives linked in medical studies to higher risks of stroke and vascular calcification. The more often bacon is your default topping, the more often those risks stack up. Wendy's branding doesn't help either. Sea salt fries sound artisan, but sodium is sodium. Your arteries don't care what kind of salt you shake on. And those value bundles, like the Biggie Bag, are designed to push you into buying not one salty item, but 4. Burger, nuggets, fries, and a drink. From a health perspective, it's a perfect storm, cheap, convenient, and hard to say no to, even as it drives up blood pressure with every bite. Even the supposed safe orders like salads carry hidden pitfalls. Add bacon crumbles, cheese, and dressing, and suddenly you've built another high-sodium, high-fat meal. The same goes for grilled chicken, which often comes pre-marinated with sodium phosphate solutions that quietly raise your intake. It's easy to think you made a smart swap, only to learn you've been nudged back into the same vascular danger zone. And then there are the extras nobody thinks about, like phosphate additives in fries or PFAS chemicals that watchdog groups found in fast food wrappers. Those aren't headline grabbers, but over time, they're more background noise your cardiovascular system doesn't need. What makes Wendy's stand out in this stroke risk conversation isn't just one sandwich or one side, it's the way the menu is engineered. Bacon is everywhere. Bundles encourage over-ordering, and better-sounding options often just repackage the same risks. For someone who grew up on the occasional Dave's single and fries, today's Wendy's is a very different beast. And that's the part most people miss. The danger isn't the once-in-a-while Frosty. It's the steady drip of sodium, fat, and processed meats baked into the menu design. That's how a chain quietly raises stroke risk, not with one outrageous item, but by making the risky choice the easy, everyday choice. Number 9. Sonic sells itself as America's drive-in, but when you look past the nostalgia, the menu design is practically a case study in how to raise blood pressure and stack stroke risks without realizing it. The routine order hot dog, fried side, massive drink hits every lever doctors warn about. Sodium overload, processed meats, fried starch, and sugar bombs in a cup. Start with the foot-long quarter-pound coney. At about 160 milligrams of sodium, one sandwich already puts you at or above the American Heart Association's full-day target. Add tots or fries, the sides Sonic is famous for, and you've quietly built a meal north of 30 mg sodium. Hypertension is the top modifiable stroke risk, and sodium is the spark that keeps it burning. Breakfast doesn't bail you out either. A supersonic breakfast burrito packs roughly 770 mg sodium, bacon or sausage, cheese, and refined starch. Epidemiology keeps showing the same thing. Processed meats raise stroke risk through nitrites, sodium, and fat. Eating that combo first thing in the morning sets the tone for higher blood pressure the rest of the day. The sides are no safer. A large cheese tot order clocks in at around 450 mg sodium, just the side dish. Mozzarella sticks, nearly 200 mg, onion rings, pushing 800 mg. It's the Southern fried pattern baked into the menu, and studies repeatedly tie frequent fried food to higher stroke rates, dose by dose. I remember thinking, just Tots was a harmless snack. Turns out they're a sodium delivery system in disguise. But Sonic's real signature is the drink culture. The RT44, a 44-ounce bucket of soda or slush, often carries 3 to 5 days' worth of added sugar in one shot. A strawberry limeade that size has over 120 grams of sugar, 5 times what the AHA recommends in a single day. And switching to diet doesn't guarantee safety. Research on older women has linked 2 or more diet drinks a day with higher ischemic stroke risk. When a drink is bigger than your forearm, the risk isn't hard to imagine. Even the little things push the total higher. A ladle of country gravy adds nearly a gram of sodium. Buffalo sauce, cheese dips, ranch, each one seems small, but once your entree is already maxed out, these extras are the difference between brushing the limit and blowing past it. Processed meats and processed cheese pile on their own baggage. Sodium nitrite, sodium phosphate, and other additives that cardiology research ties to vascular calcification and dysfunction. None of it shows up on the smiling menu board, but your arteries feel the math just the same. What makes Sonic uniquely risky isn't that it sells hot dogs or fries, lots of places do. It's that the default order flow encourages stacking: a sodium-heavy dog, fried salty side, massive sugar drink, and a dip or two for good measure. That pattern makes stroke risk nutrients the norm, not the exception. For people in their 40s, 50s, or 60s who grew up pulling into Sonic for a fun treat, it's jarring to realize how the portions and combos have morphed. The fun drive-in meal of today quietly pushes blood pressure and cholesterol higher week after week. And stroke risk isn't about the occasional splurge, it's about the pattern. Sonic's menu makes the risky pattern the easiest choice every time you roll down the window. Number 8. Taco Bell has built its empire on quick cravings tacos, burritos, nachos, and that neon green Baja Blast. But look closely, and the menu is basically a quiet multiplier of stroke risk. The problem isn't one taco here or there, it's how the pieces fit together. Sodium-packed meats, processed cheese sauces, oversized sodas, and the ultra-processed layering that keeps people coming back. Take the math. A Crunchwrap Supreme runs about 210 milligrams of sodium. Nachos Belgrande adds another 180. That's 390 mg in one sitting, already past the American Heart Association's daily ceiling of 300 milligrams. For adults aiming at the healthier one, 500 milligram target, you're 60% over before dinner. And most people don't stop at just one item. Then there's the drink trap. Taco Bell's signature Mountain Dew Baja Blast might be fun to say, but a large one carries more than 100 grams of sugar over 4 days' worth by AHA guidelines. Even the diet versions aren't off the hook. Large studies in older women have tied frequent diet soda intake to higher ischemic stroke risk. Either way, it's liquid trouble in a cup. I'll admit, I once thought zero sugar was a free pass. It wasn't. The beef isn't just beef, either. Taco Bell admitted years ago that its filling is 88% beef, 12% binders, starches, and additives. That puts it squarely in the ultra-processed food category, and UPFs are consistently tied to higher cardiovascular and stroke risks. Add phosphate-loaded cheese sauces on top, and you've got another vascular stressor most folks never think about. What makes Taco Bell particularly sneaky is how it packages all this. The Crunch Wrap folds multiple sodium sources into one handheld meal. The value menu stacks a main, a side, and a big soda for cheap, making it easy to triple the day's sodium and sugar under the banner of a deal. Even the chain's old fourth meal campaign encouraged late-night eating habit studies, now linked to higher blood pressure and worse cardiovascular outcomes over time. This isn't about demonizing tacos. It's about recognizing that a single Taco Bell stop can quietly combine nearly every major stroke driver. Excess salt, oversized sugary drinks, processed meats, phosphate-heavy cheese sauces, and a marketing culture that normalizes late-night eating. The science is clear. That pattern, repeated week after week, raises stroke risk even if no one menu item looks catastrophic on its own. At Taco Bell, the danger isn't hidden in the fine print it's baked into, the way the chain does business. and that's exactly why it earns its place on this list. Number 7. Dairy Queen might conjure images of vanilla cones and dipped sundaes, but today's grill chill is a very different beast. The modern menu leans just as hard on fried chicken baskets, burgers, and bacon-loaded sides as it does on soft serve. And those baskets? They're sodium bombs. A standard 4-piece chicken strip basket with fries, toast, and gravy delivers over 100 milligrams of sodium, basically a full day's worth before you even add a drink. Order the buffalo version, and the number skyrockets past 40 milligrams with the 6-piece basket topping 600. That's 2 full days of recommended sodium in one red plastic tray. This isn't just about numbers on a chart, it's blood pressure in real life. Too much sodium stiffens blood vessels, raises hypertension risk, and hypertension is the #1 modifiable cause of stroke. I've seen folks shrug off labels with, "I don't add salt at home," not realizing most of the damage is already baked into restaurant food like this. And it's not only the salt, it's what's inside those strips. DQ's chicken is injected with sodium phosphates to hold moisture and keep the meat plump. Those additives are legal, but newer research is finding links between high phosphate intake and vascular calcification, especially in older adults and people with kidney issues. Add fried oil and gravy on top and you've got a perfect recipe for arteries that don't stay flexible over time. The sides don't exactly save you. Onion rings land around a gram of sodium, fries add hundreds more, and everything is fried in soybean oil. Studies keep showing that frequent fried food consumption inches stroke and heart attack risk upward, especially when it's part of a weekly routine, and DQ makes fried food the default, not the exception. Now, add the bacon factor. Burgers often come stacked with nitrite-cured bacon processed meat that's been consistently tied to higher stroke risk in meta-analyses. Bacon, cheese, sauces, and buns mean your flamethrower burger isn't just spicy, it's a cocktail of salt, fat, and preservatives that push vascular biology in the wrong direction. And then there's dessert. Blizzards may look fun in commercials, but a large Reese's or Butterfinger Blizzard packs over 0 calories, more than 20 grams of saturated fat, and well past 100 grams of sugar. For perspective, the American Heart Association wants adults to keep saturated fat below 13 grams per day, and added sugar below 25-36 grams. One Blizzard can blow through 2 to 4 days worth of sugar, and nearly double your daily saturated fat limit in a single sitting. I've seen grandparents treat grandkids to these thinking just dessert, not realizing they've handed them the metabolic equivalent of a junk food jackpot. Even the drinks can't be trusted. A large mou latte or orange Julius can deliver over 100 grams of sugar on its own. Diet sodas are no better. Long-term studies in older women found higher stroke risk with heavy artificially sweetened beverage intake, especially small vessel ischemic strokes. At DQ, whether you go sugar or zero, the fountain isn't doing your arteries any favors. The soft serve itself has its quirks. It isn't even legally ice cream, it's reduced fat ice cream, stabilized with emulsifiers like polysorbate 80, carrageenan and mono, and diglycerides. These additives are common, but research in animals and short human trials shows some can disrupt the gut barrier and stir up inflammation. That doesn't cause a stroke overnight, but as part of a long-term ultra-processed diet, it adds to the pile of risks. And it's not just the adults. DQ Kids meals can sneak kids close to adult sodium targets in one sitting. A kid's burger or hot dog, plus fries and a cone, can land a child at 500 milligrams of sodium before middle school homework even starts. Those early exposures set taste habits that make salt-heavy foods feel normal for decades. What makes Dairy Queen a quiet stroke risk isn't one bad basket or one oversized Blizzard, it's the way the menu bundles high-sodium processed meats, fried starches, and sugar into every corner. Nostalgia might tell you DQ is still about cones after Little League. The reality is that today's grill chill quietly teaches people to stack sodium, fat, and sugar until the arteries can't keep up. And that's how a place once known for ice cream cones became one of the quietest stroke multipliers in the fast food game. Number 6. KFC has always sold itself as finger-licking good, but for your arteries, it's more like finger-pricking dangerous. The real issue isn't a single piece of fried chicken, it's how the whole meal is engineered to drown you in sodium. The American Heart Association wants most adults at 500 milligrams a day tops. One spicy chicken sandwich from KFC That's already about 100 milligrams before you even look at fries, gravy, or a biscuit. And let's be honest, nobody walks out of KFC with just a sandwich. Add a large fry and you're stacking another one, 200 milligrams of sodium. Toss in gravy and a biscuit and suddenly you've hit more than 500 milligrams in one meal. That's more than double the target for the day. Over time, that constant salt surge is what tightens the screws on your blood pressure, the single biggest risk factor for stroke. I used to think the problem was the salt shaker at home. It's meals like this that actually do the heavy lifting. The chicken itself is part of the problem. It's brined with phosphate salts to lock in water, then seasoned with MSG or yeast extracts to crank up the savory factor. Those tricks make every bite juicier and more craveable, but they also mean the salt isn't just on the outside, it's in the meat before it even hits the fryer. And speaking of the fryer, KFC's oil is working overtime. When oil is reheated again and again, it churns out oxidative byproducts that stress blood vessels. The flavor is golden, but your endothelium, the lining of your arteries, takes the hit. The menu keeps finding new ways to sneak sodium into comfort food. The famous bowl piles chicken, potatoes, gravy, corn, and cheese into one spoonful that packs a full day's worth of sodium over 100 milligrams. Even the chicken pot pie lands at about 700 milligrams. These meals feel cozy, but they're actually pressure cookers for your blood pressure. It doesn't stop with the mains. The so-called extras gravy, biscuits, mac and cheese each add 500 to 900 milligrams. That means two sides you barely think about can slam you with another 1,000 milligrams of sodium. And let's not forget portion creep. When the Double Down came back, it was basically 2 slabs of fried chicken hugging bacon and cheese around 0 milligrams of sodium by itself. That's the sodium load of a week's worth of home-cooked dinners stuffed between 2 greasy hands. Even the drinks push things further. Sugary sodas drive weight and insulin resistance, while diet sodas in heavy use have been linked to small vessel strokes in older women. Either way, the combo culture nudges you into a pattern where every meal adds another layer of cardiovascular stress. And here's the kicker. People underestimate how salty their KFC meal really is. Studies show adults lowball fast food sodium by about 10 milligrams on average, which means you could be downing nearly twice what you think you're eating. KFC deserves a special call-out because chicken feels lighter than beef, but here it's just as sodium-loaded and fried to boot. A bucket shared with the family, a famous bowl for lunch, or just a sandwich and fries combo, each one quietly pushes your blood pressure higher, day after day. The stroke doesn't announce itself ahead of time, but meals like this lay the groundwork years in advance. And that's the thing about KFC. The salt isn't just on the table. It's built into the chicken, baked into the sides, and bundled into portions so big you barely realize your blood vessels are paying the price. Number 5. Arby's has built an entire empire on one bold promise: we have the meats. And they weren't kidding. Roast beef piled high, brisket, bacon, corned beef, ham, turkey, even venison and elk stunts. It's a parade of salt-cured, sauce-soaked proteins designed to impress you with size. But here's the quiet cost. Those very meats are the exact categories public health experts keep linking to higher stroke risk. Take their half-pound beef and cheddar. It sounds like a splurge, but it's actually a sodium minefield 530 milligrams in one sandwich. That's more than the American Heart Association's ideal limit for the entire day. Add curly fries or mozzarella sticks, and you're looking at sodium totals north of 0 milligrams in one sitting. I've seen people eat that much salt in a single lunch break without even blinking. Processed meat is Arby's bread and butter, literally. The roast beef, turkey, and ham are boosted with sodium phosphates to hold water and slice clean. Bacon and corned beef are nitrite cured. These are the same additives scientists point to when they talk about vascular calcification, stiffening arteries, and endothelial stress. It's not just abstract biology either. Multiple meta-analyses have tied processed meats directly to higher stroke incidence, especially ischemic stroke. And then there's the au jus trap. A French dip, Swiss sounds lighter than a burger, but that salty broth pushes the sandwich to 540 milligrams of sodium. Or the Reuben, corned beef, Swiss, kraut, dressing that's 420 milligrams in a single build. These are classic deli flavors, but they're also textbook high-sodium processed meat stacks. The risk doesn't stop at the meats. A large curly fry clocks 250 milligrams of sodium, while a 6-piece mozzarella stick order delivers over 100 milligrams, nearly a day and a half of ideal sodium in what most people think of as just a side. Breakfast isn't safer. The double sausage gravy biscuit tips the scales at 490 milligrams of sodium before you even hit 9 a.m. Arby's also leans hard on portion escalation. Classic roast beef at 970 milligrams turns into 610 milligrams when you double it, and 40 milligrams for the half-pound version. The marketing says more meat, but what you're really buying is more salt, more preservatives, and more pressure on your arteries. I remember shaking my head when I first saw the Meat Mountain stunt. It was basically a sodium dare in sandwich form. Even the drinks pile on risk. Sugary sodas have long been linked to higher blood pressure and stroke, and artificially sweetened versions show their own associations in older women. Arby's menu makes it all too easy to pair a salty sandwich with a sugar bomb in a cup, locking in a 1-2 punch against cardiovascular health. The science thread is straightforward. Sodium raises blood pressure, and high blood pressure drives stroke. Processed meats and phosphate additives add extra vascular stress. Sugary drinks amplify the damage. And Arby's puts all three front and center, served in portions designed to make normal eating quietly overshoot every medical guideline. For someone in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, especially if blood pressure is already creeping up, this isn't a small detail. A Reuben and fries combo isn't just comfort food, it's a stroke risk amplifier hiding in plain sight. And that's why Arby's earns a special place on this list. Because having the meats really means having the sodium, the preservatives, and the portion sizes that quietly push stroke risk higher with every bite. Number 4. Five Guys has the vibe of a back-to-basics burger joint. Short menu, fresh beef, fries, and peanut oil. But the quiet twist is in how they size things. A regular burger isn't 1 patty, it's 2. If you want a single patty, you have to order a little. That naming trick means a lot of people think they're making a normal choice, when in reality they've just doubled their baseline salt, fat, and calories before toppings even enter the picture. Now add up the numbers. A bun alone runs around 330 milligrams of sodium. Each beef patty brings about 50 more. One slice of American cheese adds 300 plus, bacon another 210, and pickles roughly 240. Ketchup and mayo tack on more. A fully dressed cheeseburger with bacon easily clears 500 milligrams of sodium, the American Heart Association's entire daily ideal limit, before fries or a drink even hit the table. And the fries are their own story. Five Guys is famous for overfilling bags with extra scoops. A regular order already packs close to a gram of sodium. Cajun style pushes past 200 milligrams. Put that next to a burger and you're staring at 600 milligrams in one sitting. That's the sodium equivalent of 3 days of low-salt meals undone in one lunch stop. I remember walking out once feeling like my fingers had swollen before I hit the parking lot. Processed meats like bacon and hot dogs layer on another risk. Both are nitrite cured and come loaded with salt and additives. Large studies consistently link processed meats to higher stroke risk, particularly ischemic strokes, and Five Guys sells them as toppings or standalone dogs. A bacon dog with bun and toppings can creep toward 300 milligrams of sodium all by itself. Even dessert plays the game. Their shakes, the kind you can load with mix-ins, start at more than 80 grams of sugar. Add Oreos or caramel and you're pushing over 100 grams 3 to 4 times the daily added sugar cap the AHA recommends. For anyone juggling weight, blood pressure, or diabetes risk, that's a recipe for trouble down the line. The chain market's fresh and simple, but flip through the ingredient panels and you'll find the usual suspects. Phosphates in the cheese, high fructose corn syrup in sauces, preservatives in condiments, dyes in pickles. That's an ultra-processed food profile dressed up in a fresh burger wrapper. And research keeps showing that diets heavy in ultra-processed foods correlate with higher risks of hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and stroke. Cooking style adds one more subtle strike. Every burger is cooked well done, which means high heat every time. That creates compounds like AGEs in meat and acrylamide in fries, both linked in research to oxidative stress and vascular damage. They won't knock you down on the spot, but stacked on top of high sodium and saturated fat, they nudge the system in the wrong direction. So while Five Guys may feel more honest than a big box chain, the numbers don't lie. 2 patties as the default, fry bags built to overflow, salty toppings dressed up as free, and shakes that double as sugar bombs. It's abundance by design, and for arteries already under pressure, it's the kind of abundance that quietly turns a burger night into a stroke risk multiplier. Number 3. Burger King built its reputation on bigger burgers and flame-grilled flavor, but behind that smoky marketing is a sodium story most people never notice. The numbers don't just nudge past healthy limits, they leap. A single Bacon King sandwich lands around 150 milligrams of sodium and over 30 grams of saturated fat. That's nearly the American Heart Association's entire daily sodium cap and the whole day's saturated fat allowance in one sandwich. Pair it with fries and a soda, and you're staring at 30 milligrams before dinner even shows up. It's not just the obvious culprits, like bacon or mayo, either. Sodium is tucked into the bun, cheese, condiments, and even the fries that claim to be unsalted. A medium fry has about 270 milligrams of baseline sodium before the shaker even hits. And in practice, most fries get salted. Add a couple ketchup packets at 85 milligrams apiece, and what felt like a harmless side just turned into a blood pressure spike. I've had meals there where I thought I was keeping it light, then later realized the math added up to a day and a half's worth of salt. Breakfast is no refuge. Burger King's fully loaded croissant, which runs about 800 milligrams of sodium first thing in the morning. That's a problem, because blood pressure naturally surges in the morning, and high-salt breakfasts land right on top of that vulnerability. Research shows salty meals can stiffen arteries and blunt vessel function within an hour of eating. So starting the day with a croissant, witch, and hash browns isn't just filling, it's stacking the odds against your circulatory system before 9 a.m. Then there's the add-ons. Onion rings at nearly 950 milligrams for a large, plus 380 milligrams in a single tub of zesty sauce. Processed cheese and bacon come with phosphate salts and nitrite curing technologies that make food look and taste better but quietly load more sodium and compounds tied to vascular stress. Add a Coke at 105 grams of sugar, or worse, a shake with 90 grams, and you've got salt and sugar teaming up against your arteries. Even the Impossible Whopper, the plant-based star, doesn't escape the trap. It packs over 10 milligrams of sodium and 10 grams of saturated fat, proof that swapping the patty doesn't undo the way fast food builds are engineered. Salty bun, processed cheese, sauces, fries, soda. And while the food is the main story, the wrappers aren't entirely innocent either. For years, grease-resistant packaging often contained PFAS, so-called forever chemicals, tied to hypertension and cardiovascular disease in population studies. Burger King's parent company has pledged to phase them out by 2025, but it's a reminder that exposure hasn't just been on the plate. The marketing doesn't help. Those 5 Your Way bundles encourage 2 sandwiches or a sandwich plus nuggets, fries, and a drink. The result? Sodium doubling by design. What feels like value at the register is pressure in your arteries by the time you're home. The truth is, Burger King is a textbook example of how modern fast food quietly raises stroke risk. High-sodium sandwiches, salt-heavy breakfasts, sides that add more than you realize, sugar-laden drinks, processed add-ons, and a value system that normalizes double portions. For anyone already managing blood pressure or hoping to avoid it, Burger King meals don't just fill you up. They push you further down a road most people don't even realize they're on until it's too late. Number 2. Checkers and Rallies has built its whole identity around speed, indulgence, and value. 2 drive-through lanes, no sit-down dining, and bundle deals like 5 for $6, or the 4 unbeatable meal deal. On paper, that looks like a smart bargain. In reality, those bundles almost guarantee a sandwich, fries, a sweet drink, and sometimes dessert, all the pieces that public health experts say stack up to high blood pressure and, eventually, higher stroke risk. The biggest red flag is sodium, and here, the numbers are staggering. Their Bacon Barbecue Mother Cruncher comes in at more than 30 milligrams of sodium, double the American Heart Association's ideal daily target before you've even touched fries or sauce. 1 order of buffalo sauced tenders? Nearly 6, 0 milligrams for 8 pieces. The 12-piece? Close to 9, 0 milligrams. That's 4 to 6 full days worth of sodium in one sitting. Even their fries, famous as they are, pack a punch. 1, 300 milligrams for a large, over 2, 0 for the fry lover size. I've had moments where I thought, it's just fries, only to learn later that they carried more salt than the burger itself. And these aren't dare you stunt items, they're everyday menu picks. A Big Buford with a large fry clears 3 0 milligrams before you open a ketchup packet. Add a side of chili. That's another 2 0+ milligrams. It doesn't take much to see how a normal combo can blow past the AHA sodium ceiling by lunchtime. That's exactly how stroke risk sneaks up. Meals that feel ordinary but push your blood pressure higher and higher over time. Processed meats add another layer. Baconzilla, chili dogs, hot dogs on the kids' menu, each one brings the nitrites, curing salts, and preservatives that researchers link to higher cardiovascular and stroke risk. A kid's hot dog alone has about 1 0 milligrams of sodium, which is almost an adult's ideal daily limit. For parents or grandparents picking up a meal thinking it's a lighter choice, those numbers are a wake-up call. The fries themselves aren't just potatoes. Seasoned with MSG, extra salt, and phosphate additives to keep texture and color, they're designed to hit that hyper-palatable sweet spot. You eat more without realizing it. It's not your imagination food scientists have measured how salt-fat-carb combinations make us overeat. Add portion sizes like XL fry lovers, and you've engineered a can't-stop food that quietly hikes blood pressure meal after meal. And sauces? 1 ounce of buffalo sauce adds 870 milligrams of sodium. A single ranch cup adds another 320. Most people use 2 or 3 without thinking. Before long, the dips alone rival a full day's worth of salt. It's the same story with shakes and freezes. 80 to 100 grams of sugar in a single cup, several days worth of the AHA's added sugar limit. That sugar drives weight gain and insulin resistance, which in turn raise blood pressure and stroke odds down the road. Checkers and Rallies also leans hard into late-night business, which matters more than you might think. Eating salty, heavy meals at night collides with the body's natural rhythms. Research shows late-night eating ties to higher blood pressure, worse glucose handling, and more cardiovascular strain. A midnight fry binge isn't just bad for sleep. It's a subtle, long-term risk factor for the heart and brain. What makes this chain stand out on a stroke risk list isn't one single sandwich. It's the design. Bundled meals that always include fries and a soda. Portions that escalate by default. Burgers stacked with bacon and cheese. Chicken and tenders drenched in sauces. And shakes that deliver a dessert's worth of sugar on top of it all. Put those pieces together, and you've built the exact diet pattern researchers warn about: high sodium, fried fat, processed meat, and sugary drinks. That's why Checkers and Rallies lands on this list. It's not about scaring people away from a single burger. It's about showing how the chain's everyday menu and marketing quietly raise blood pressure and stroke risk in a way most customers never think about until their doctor starts warning them to watch the salt. Number 1. Hardee's has made a name for itself with oversized burgers and biscuit-heavy breakfasts. But here's the part they don't advertise. A single flagship sandwich can quietly deliver more sodium than an adult should have in an entire day. Their Monster Burger? About 580 milligrams of sodium. The hand-breaded chicken sandwich? 660 milligrams. Even their so-called lighter hot ham and cheese sandwiches can pass 0 milligrams. That's not indulgence, that's a direct hit on blood pressure, which is the number 1 risk factor for stroke. And if you think breakfast is safer, think again. Hardee's biscuits, the pride of the brand, are some of the worst offenders. A hand-breaded chicken biscuit lands at 780 milligrams of sodium. The Monster biscuit hovers around 370. Even a plain biscuit, nothing but bread, packs 840 milligrams. By the time you leave the drive-thru in the morning, you've already gone over the daily ideal for sodium. For older adults, many of whom already struggle with hypertension, that's setting up the day in the worst way possible. What makes this more troubling is where Hardee's is located. Its heaviest footprint is in the southeast, the same region public health experts call the stroke belt. These states already report higher stroke deaths and prevalence than the national average. Pile on Hardee's sodium-laden breakfasts and sandwiches, and you've got a chain that's amplifying risk exactly where people can least afford it. Now here's an irony. When Hardee's reformulated its infamous Monster Thick Burger, It cut calories but actually increased the sodium. So yes, today's version might look lighter on paper, but in reality it leans harder on salt, which is far more relevant when we're talking stroke risk. Calories you can burn off with a walk, sodium you can't just walk away from, and don't be fooled by the healthier sounding options like ham or roast beef. At Hardee's, those choices are sodium bombs too. The Big Hot Ham and Cheese hits 210 milligrams, about the same as a Monster Burger. The Big Roast Beef is 860. It's proof that switching away from burgers doesn't protect you when the salt is baked into every bun, every sauce, and every slice of meat. Even chicken isn't safe here. The hand-breaded chicken BLT climbs to 840 milligrams of sodium. 10-piece tenders without sauce, another 580. These are the kinds of meals that can make your blood pressure spike in the short term and quietly wear down your arteries in the long term. Hardee's doesn't spare kids either. Their Star Pals meals with fries pack 430 to 1, 820 milligrams of sodium. Pediatric experts have shown that kids' taste for salt gets shaped early. Start them on meals this salty, and you're training the next generation to crave the very thing that drives hypertension. I've seen it firsthand, kids hooked on salty biscuits before they're old enough to read the label. And of course, what's a Hardee's combo without a soda or shake? The shakes alone run 87 grams of sugar, and even diet sodas aren't harmless. Large studies have linked heavy diet soda use, especially in older women, to higher stroke risk. Pair one of those drinks with a sandwich that's already doubled your sodium limit, and you've just built the perfect storm. The stroke math at Hardee's is almost shocking when you lay it out. A Monster Burger with large fries? That's 500 milligrams of sodium. The hand-breaded chicken sandwich with fries? 600 milligrams. Even a Monster Biscuit with coffee, no fries, no sides, clocks in at 370 milligrams before the day's even started. That's not an occasional slip. That's a lifestyle of salt excess baked into the menu. And this isn't about a rare splurge. With Hardee's positioning itself as the go-to breakfast stop, it's easy for someone to repeat that overshoot several times a week. The CDC has already reported stroke prevalence climbing again in middle-aged adults over the past decade. Diets like these are exactly why. So why does Hardee's belong on a stroke risk list? Because its sodium isn't just high, it's routine. Because its strongest market is in the exact region already burdened with strokes. And because even when the chain trims calories, it leans harder on salt, the very ingredient that pushes blood pressure higher. That's the story that doesn't make it into the commercials. Hardee's sells comfort, but it delivers something else, an invisible, relentless push on your arteries. And if you're not paying attention, that push can end in the one health crisis nobody sees coming until it's too late. The next time you pull up to a drive-thru, ask yourself, am I really hungry for this? Or am I just rolling the dice with my health? Because one thing's clear, fast food isn't just fast, it's quietly raising risks we can't afford to ignore.